Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, it's a real exciting one for me. I sit down with Kiss fan Eric McConnell and we talk about the Peter Criss 1984 concert. Eric was really lucky to have been there. He took some pictures, he actually recorded the show, and he actually is really good friends with a certain celebrity DJ. So we'll get into some of those discussions. I think you guys are really going to enjoy hearing some of the details behind this show that probably weren't known by many Kiss fans before. At the end of this interview, I'll throw some pictures up just so you get a feel for what this was like. While you are here, hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel below. Also, go check out my Facebook page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. Also, I'll be posting some more photos from this legendary Peter Criss 1984 concert over on my Facebook page. Now, without further ado, let's get started with my conversation with Eric. All right, hey buddy, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience. I'm very excited about the show today. You know, many fans know, Kiss fans know, Peter Criss did some shows in the mid-'80s with Balls of Fire. Even more fans know that Peter Criss did some shows in the early 90s with his own band. Not as many fans have been aware until maybe recently about some of the shows Peter Criss did in the early 80s. And I got with me right now Eric McConnell, who was at one of those Peter Criss shows. So Eric, I am so excited to have you on the show. Thanks for joining me today.
This is a big day.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm glad to be here. Glad you reached out.
No, definitely. I'm very excited to hear your stories. But before we jump into the Peter Criss thing, let's just kind of set the stage for anybody who's watching and maybe doesn't know you. Were you a Kiss fan as a kid growing up? When did you become a Kiss fan? Were you never a Kiss fan? Yeah, talk about your Kiss fandom.
Sure. I was born in 1960, so I'm 59.
Okay.
So
well, you look a good 59. I think you're my age.
I'm running. I just started running. So
good for you.
I remember being on the school bus the day after, was it Midnight Special? Was that?
That was 75.
The first, and it's not that I watched it. It's not that I watched to see Kiss, but I remember being exposed to them. And I remember being on the bus and everybody it was either talking about Monty Python, which happened on, would be Sunday night in the New York area on PBS, or they were talking about the Midnight Special or Don Kirshner or whatever it was. And these four guys that looked like Alice Cooper. So I saw clips of it, but that was it. That's kind of interesting, but that was all I took from it. And then Destroyer came out when?
March of 76, yep.
All right, so I'm at my cousin's house. His parents went away. He goes, you got to hear this. So you got to hear this record. And he puts it on his dad's stereo. And, of course, Detroit Rock City, Pontiac, Michigan youth.
Yeah,
I was born in Detroit.
Oh, nice.
So there was a connection there, and I was blown away. Even though I knew who they were, but I didn't know anything about them. Destroyer was it, and then of course, like everybody else who discovered them, I go backwards. So I get that. I didn't get Alive, but I went back to the first record, worked my way forward, and then I got to the originals.
Absolutely.
Big stupid kid, I didn't realize it was the first three records. I got my $5 allowance, and I'm wasting it on three records I just bought. So got through the originals, of course, and then Alive, and just being blown away. And it was recorded, of course, at Cobo. Part of it was recorded at Cobo Hall, which, being from Detroit, was just huge. And by the time I got done with all that, then of course, Rock and Roll Over is next, right? Yeah, Rock and Roll Over is next. And to me, that is the Kiss record. That, it's good hard rock, all that great stuff. Going back, I'd still probably say Destroyer is my first love because of that's where I got exposed to them.
Understandable. Rock and Roll Over is my first love. Of course, that's when I was exposed to them.
Yeah,
so I totally get that. Totally.
And of course, as you get older, I worry about people who say Asylum and people who say Crazy Nights. I do worry about that because I dropped out at that point. I would still buy the records. I would still went to the shows. But when growing up, as you get past getting exposed to Kiss and get all that, I was lucky enough to see some unique shows. And I went to the first Garden show. Nice. I went to, I'm up in the Blue Rafters. You're from New York. I'm up in the Blue Rafters. You couldn't be further away if you wanted to.
But you were in the building.
But there's very few artists when that show starts and it affects you, it hits you. And I'm a big Springsteen fan. I don't know if that crosses over to Kiss or not.
Right.
Some of those Springsteen shows are from a live performance are just fantastic. But Kiss, there is something unique. And then I don't remember a lot because I was young. I don't remember a lot about the staging, and you've seen photos since then, of course. But then a year later, for us New York people, New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey. It must have been. Was it the Love Gun tour or Alive 2 when we saw them at the Garden? They did
I think that was considered the Alive 2 tour because it was December of '77, if I remember right.
Look at you with the dates. That's fantastic.
You know what? I'm usually good with dates for whatever reason. I'm pretty good with dates usually.
Saw that, and I went to a scalper in Fort Lee. I spent $100.
Wow.
Fourth row tickets. Yeah. I took photos of that show. This came together because of the photos of Peter Criss at the Cherry Off. But I've got great shots from that show.
I'd love to see those photos one day.
So I just got to put them up, and
awesome.
I usually dump them on Kiss FAQ.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. I put them up there. Someone starts talking about something, and I'll dump the photos in. But when they came down in those, the lifts that came down,
of course.
Oh, geez.
Absolutely.
It just unreal. And then, of course, you fast forward up to Dynasty. A good friend of mine, Bob Garcia, he thinks the Dynasty show is the ultimate stage because some of the things that they did with the white stage, instead of it being all black, the lights reflected off the stage. There's more color. How that entrance started with them coming up on the elevators.
Remember it as if it was an hour ago.
And I only saw that. I saw that show twice. Twice at the Garden. They played twice at the Garden.
They played 2 nights at the Garden. Yep.
But so around that same time as the Alive 2 show, I was a Peter Frampton fan, and I had tickets to see Peter Frampton at the Garden.
Okay.
And this would have been, I don't know, it was after the Alive record, so it must have been 76, 77. Okay. Star Wars was out. And my dad traveled a lot of business all over the place, and he had to go to California. So we take the family takes a trip. He goes, Eric, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to go to this Kiss concert or the Peter Frampton concert. I'm just pissed. I don't go to California with the family and stuff. We get to California, and he goes, I got you a ticket to see Kiss at the
Forum.
At the Forum.
Wow.
So, and just like the movie, just like Detroit Rock City, you wouldn't do this today. My parents dropped me off in the parking lot of the Forum. Single tickets. None of my brothers went with me. My dad didn't go, and I got to see one of the Alive 2 shows. I don't remember which one. I don't know if it was the first one, the second one, the third one.
Right.
I don't know. Right. But of course, Cheap Trick was the opening band.
Yep.
Fan of them, and so I was real lucky to see some, at least from a Kiss history, the first night at the Garden, the Live 2 stuff. And so I've been a fan for a long time. It's faded, of course. I'm not a big fan of what they're doing now. It doesn't. Okay. But saying that, I've been to 5 shows on the current tour.
Oh wow! Okay.
And my one is my nephew has never seen him. My nephew's 33 or so. He wanted to go, so we went. We saw Brooklyn, or it must have been the Garden, Brooklyn. We went to Prudential Center.
Okay.
And I had a buddy in town. We went to the Brooklyn show. I didn't want to miss the Garden show. I went to the Garden show. So, so I've been bopping around seeing them, and the show is amazing. There's no question about it.
Absolutely.
If with all the negative you hear, if it's lip syncing or not, I get it. I want to see a live band too, but in the same breath, it's an amazing show.
It is.
From a technical standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint. There's fire, there's confetti, there's bombs. I love all that crap.
Absolutely. So I think it's safe to say that certainly in the 70s, you were a really big fan. When when it was announced that Peter Criss was leaving the band, was like everybody in the 70s, I remember growing up, I had a favorite, right? So at one point, I actually wanted to change my name to Peter. And I wanted to have at the bare minimum my middle name. I don't have a middle name. I wanted my parents to add a middle name and have it be Peter. And my parents actually looked into legally changing my name, and it was too much money. And they're like, yeah, no friggin' way, right? So I remember I was heartbroken when Peter Criss left Kiss. Now I loved Eric Carr, right? I loved what he brought to the band, right? So, but as a kid, I was disappointed when Peter Criss was leaving Kiss. How did you react when that happened?
Yeah, put it this way. Look at it like this: the first of the solo records, I bought Peter's.
Okay.
And I was a huge Gene fan because I'm a big Monster fan, and that Destroyer costume, those boots, that armor. That was Godzilla. That was
absolutely
Frankenstein. It was Universal Monsters. It was right up my alley.
Sure.
But from a singing standpoint, there's no better voice than Peter. That voice is just so unique.
I agree. And I think he's so underrated as a singer.
It's just a great voice. Yeah. And he would have been number 2, but he was the first solo record I bought.
Okay. Now, what about the music on it? Did you like the music on his 78 solo?
I liked his voice. So yes, but I still listen to that. I like Out of Control. I like that record. Yeah. The one from... That was in Europe. Let Me Rock You. I like that one. Yep. I think the last one that came out was rough.
All for One.
End of the World.
All for One, I think it was.
All for One.
Yeah.
And the one from Tony Records. Cat was
the Criss album.
Not my favorite. I'm a hard rock fan, but hard rock to me is probably more. Judas Priest is really heavy for me. Sure. Where we start getting into Anthrax and. It's not that I don't like Metallica, but that's just a little bit heavier for me. And I'm, being a Springsteen fan or Bob Seger, Peter's voice is right there. Absolutely. And I think when he's on point, some of those songs are just fantastic. And the early Kiss stuff where he was singing, just killer songs, just still personal favorites, and they still do them.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I love those songs. So take us then into 1984. Right, so you're a big Kiss fan. Now, like I said in my intro, many Kiss fans didn't know that these Peter Criss shows ever happened for years. Now, I'm a bootleg collector, so I had, maybe it was your tape, I don't even know, right?
You're going to love this story.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to. So I had one of the tapes for years, but it wasn't widely circulated for whatever reason. People weren't interested. And I have people as recently as like last week when I posted some of the pictures that you posted, I had no idea this show happened. I got to start off by asking you, how did you even find out about this show? Because I was a Kiss fan and I had no clue, and I'm in the New York area. No clue that this show happened.
I grew up in Morristown, New Jersey, which is maybe half an hour or so from the city. Yeah. We had a local record store called Al Wilk Records. Okay. And we had a great cast of characters that worked there. It was me. Mm-hmm. There was a gentleman by the name of Rick Fabio. Okay. And Rick's not his claim to fame. Rick's been very successful in life, and he's done really good. Beautiful family, beautiful house. His first love. I don't know if he'd say. I would say it's his first love. I don't know if he would. His first love is music. Okay. And the band Thor. Keep the Dogs Away. Yep. And Thor. I'm gonna sidetrack. I'm gonna get back to Peter. I want to tell you how this all came together. Rick worked in the store, and Rick ended up being the drummer after Keep the Dogs Away. If anybody's seen the I Am Thor documentary, and the problems John Thor had with the record company and the whole thing, and he came to New York and he put a band together. Rick was the drummer in that band. Mm-hmm. And I knew Rick at that time, and Mike Appel, who was Springsteen, of course, they put together this huge show. It was great to see this happen to Rick. So Rick quits, and now it's Rick quits the record store, and it's just me and a guy by the name of Ron Akiyama. And your listeners, any big Kiss fans any big rock fan, Ron is a famed rock photographer. Mm-hmm. And Ron has taken photographs in the New York area for everybody from ABBA to Zappa, and everybody in between. Mm-hmm. And so it's me and Ron, and we had this fat, I shouldn't say fat, this heavyset kid used to come in. And I can say this because he's my best friend. Okay. And he used to come in.
I know where this is going.
Where we talked UFO. He was a customer. We talked UFO. We talked Kiss, Angel, Cheap Trick, all those 70s and early 80s bands that we all loved. Mm-hmm. And his name was Eddie Trunk. Mm-hmm. And Eddie, we end up hiring Ed. So it's me, Ed, and Ron. Rick, of course, but we're all still good friends. We still have dinner. We get together once a month, once or twice a month. We have dinner. Ed was the best man in my wedding. So
nice.
We had a great Ed working in the store, and this is before the radio station. His first job, I think, was radio-wise, was at WDHA, which was the Rock of New Jersey or Rock of Dover, whatever they called it, and all the jocks from that used to come into the store and they'd buy their records.
Okay.
And I don't want to tell Ed's story, but Ed ends up getting a job at WDHA, and he's part of. See, I don't listen to a show. I listen to the one on Sirius, but I don't listen to the music one. He is Metal Madness, Metal. I forget what it was called.
Okay.
But and there's something weird. He either wasn't the on-air host at the beginning, or he was doing segments. I forget what it was. Anyways, the Aquarium, the East Coast Rocker, was a local rock paper.
Yep.
And the salesman or the delivery guy comes in. He drops off. We used to sell the magazine at the store. Drops off the paper, and he goes, "Hey, you two guys are big Kiss fans. Are you guys going to the Peter Criss show?" What? What Peter Criss? Everybody's involved in the music business. No one knows anything about this.
Right.
And he goes, "Yeah, he's playing up in Newton, New Jersey," which I live in Great Meadows now, and Newton is maybe 10 minutes from me. I meant to drive over there to see if that building is still there where he played the Cherry Croft. And we knew nothing about it. So I called Ed. I go, "Ed, Friday night, Saturday night, whatever it was." I go, we're going to Newton. Peter Criss is doing a show." Excuse me. So we got the directions for how to get up there.
Now, did you have to buy a ticket, or did you just show up?
It was at the door. At the door. If it was $5, I might be over exaggerating. It might have been $3. Back in that time. And the story that we had heard was, well, this guy, the guy from the magazine said, "You guys got to go up." So we go up. Ed was at the radio station. We go up. We get there early because Ed I don't believe Ed had the contacts yet of who to reach out to for an interview. He may have, but I don't remember it like that. We got there early. Ed introduced himself. I'm just a fly on the wall at this point. And Ed introduces himself, tells him what he does, wants to do an interview with Peter. Peter's happy to see him. We have dinner with Peter. We talk a little bit. I remember. What
was Peter like at that time? What was his spirits like? Yeah,
it's exactly what you wanted him to be. So nice. you hear a lot of negative stories about Peter, but every time I've been with Peter, it's been quite a few, because of Ed, not on my own. The first time it wasn't because of Ed, but everything else after that has been because of Ed. And exactly what you want. And he might be being nice to me because of who my friend is. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he's a nice enough guy. And Gigi's always been nice too. So I have
nothing but great things.
Nothing negative. And I know people like to hear it, but it's been nothing like that. Yeah. And I remember asking, I'm not sick with the coronavirus. Like you tell us
it's allergy season practically.
Yeah. And
that's hilarious.
I remember asking Peter, because that show was in 84, and Peter left when? In 80-ish?
Yeah, May of 80 is when it was officially announced.
All right. So that's Unmasked? That's after Unmasked,
yeah,
right?
It's right around the time Unmasked was coming out. Yep.
Remind me to tell you about the Palladium.
Okay, yeah. Good.
Got a story about that, too.
Awesome.
So I asked him, if you have any pinball machines? And I'm a kid. I'm not, I'm a goofy fan. And I go, "Do you have any of the Kiss pinball machines?" "I got a warehouse." Peter's like, "I got a warehouse full of Kiss pinball machines." I go, "Tell me you like enjoying bouncing the ball off of Gene and Paul." Just out of anger, getting Peter was a good sport. He answered all my stupid questions, not so much Ed's stupid questions. And then the night progressed. He took off. He went to get ready, and what we had heard, I don't remember if Peter told me this or if we heard it, but I did ask him about the drum set. He said he borrowed it from Ace. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I asked Peter that maybe the last time I saw him. He said, no, that was Stan's drum set. So
okay.
I've heard two different stories. It doesn't matter, but right. it's silly.
It's more interesting, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he had dinner. We had a few drinks. we had a micro cassette recorder, you know, the little tape one.
Mm-hmm.
Show starts, and just holding the tape up, holding the tape recorder, we recorded the entire show.
Yep.
And there's more to that story, but I'll circle back to that. So they do the show, and it was just rock and roll stuff. It was Beatles, Stones, Little Richard,
all cover tunes.
All covers. Yeah.
Did you know that when you were going in? Did you know?
No, we knew nothing. We knew nothing. We didn't know if this was going to be. Well, God, I hope he plays some Kiss. He's got to play. He's got to at least play Beth. Maybe we'll get Black Diamond. Maybe we get. You know,
I remember listening to the tape and hearing somebody right next to you yelling, "Hooligan, hooligan!"
Could have been me.
Okay.
And I don't know. I wrote down the set list. The thing with it, there were two shows. I didn't know there were two shows.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the first one, and Terry Croft was not a. It's not a club. It wasn't. I don't know if it's still there, but it's not a club. It's a supper club, a restaurant, and they cleared, 4 or 5 tables out of the way. They put a drum set in there, where Peter was. Peter wasn't the front man; he was behind the drums 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Stan, of course, on guitar, another guitar player. I've seen an interview online with somebody who was in the Stan, or the what were they calling the band, Balls of Fire, or the Pentridge Alliance, whatever it was. And I wrote down his name because I had not heard it. I didn't know this at the time, but Mike Hutchinson.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Was the guitar. Someone's done an interview with him.
Okay.
The guy on bass. I didn't know it at the time, but pretty soon after that, someone told me it was Alan Woody, who was I guess he was in the Allman Brothers and Government. I think he's passed.
Yes, he did pass. I think about 20 years ago, but I think he was in the Allman Brothers band in the 90s.
At that time, and we didn't know that. I knew who Stan was, of course, just being a Kiss fan, and its connection with Peter, and of course Peter. I read stuff that there was a keyboard player. There was not a keyboard player. It was guitars, bass, and drum. That was it.
And it sounds like it was the 4 of them, because I've read, and I've even seen an interview with Peter Criss at that time, where Peter Criss said he was more like a front man, not playing the drums. He was singing. He even says he was playing guitar. But you're saying when you saw him, he played drums
none of that.
The entire show. He played the drums the entire show.
Yeah, none of that.
Okay.
And if he came out from behind the drums, it would have been for Beth, and that was it. And he did Tossin' and Turnin', which I know it's not a Kiss song, but it is a
Kiss connection.
It's a Kiss connection, yes.
Right. Absolutely.
And I'll go through the set list, because I wrote it down. Mustang Sally, La Bamba, Twist and Shout, Stand By Me, Rebel Rouser, Young Bloods, a great song, Pretty Woman, Moni Moni, Johnny Be Good, Dream Lover, Kansas City, I think that's the blues song, I think.
Yep.
Roll Over Beethoven, Tossin' and Turnin', Blue Suede Shoes, I Feel Fine, Tutti Frutti. It was somebody's birthday, so they did Happy Birthday.
Okay.
And Beth, I've seen reports that he played Rock and Roll All Night. I don't remember Rock and Roll All Night being played. And the problem with the set list, that is from the second night. That I don't know, maybe 10 years ago I found out there was a second night. I didn't know that. If we had known it, we would have went. And a lot of stuff you read online is the place was packed, you couldn't move, they had to lock the doors. It wasn't that way on our night. It did get more crowded.
How many people were there, roughly?
If I told you it was 100, 150, that would be a lot.
Well, that's actually more than I thought it was.
Yeah, it was not big. It was a small room. It's you couldn't. We were right up front, maybe a row of people. I'm pretty tall, so I'm always concerned about people behind me. So, but it was a great night of rock and roll music, and it was great to see somebody we all cared about out. It was for shits and giggles. It was for fun. It was. I think someone who knows Peter's history better than me. I didn't look at it as a. This is not Balls of Fire. This is not. This is two buddies getting together, and that's what we had been told, that Stan lived in the area, and I don't even know if that's true now. That Stan lived in the area. Peter came up to visit, going to spend the weekend, spend the week, whatever. And hey, let's go down to the local restaurant. I know the owner. Let's go set up and let's just do some rock music and have some fun with it. Don't announce it. they didn't want a horde of fans because I don't think Peter had been seen.
Yeah, I don't think I had seen him at that point yet without makeup.
Because if he left in '80, when was Out of Control? When did that come out?
That was '82, but to your point before, it was only in England. I don't remember when I got that. I know he did a couple of TV shows, 1980, 81, when he first left Kiss, Live at 5. But again, I was a kid. I missed all of that on TV. So by '84, I had definitely not seen him without makeup, I don't think yet.
Yeah, and if that was '84, Peter's how old now?
Now you got me on a question.
70?
I don't know.
Is 70?
He's right around
He's over
70. Yeah, I think he's like 71 or 72.
84, 94, 1. It's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
This is, so he was probably 35-ish.
Right. Yep.
Right. It was a great night. We had a great time. We recorded the show.
Mm-hmm.
Get home the next day, whatever, and I transfer it from the micro cassette to the full size cassette.
Okay.
And I give it to Ed. And on the tape, you can hear me and Ed talking about, hey, what are you doing the rest of the weekend? We're
oh wow,
just shooting the shit. And so Ed was more he was a little bit younger than me, and Ed was more connected with the Kiss fans at that time on trading shows, trading live tapes. And I wasn't into that. I liked the promotional material. I always liked the cool stuff, what I thought was the cool stuff. Mm-hmm. But I never liked live recordings, especially when they were fan made. I didn't think that it was
I had a friend like that, so I get it. Yeah. My best friend was like that.
A few years later, if that show was in '84, I'm going to say 1990. I'm in the Village in New York. We're record shopping. Me and my buddies, we used to go on once a month or show. Mm-hmm. So
Bleecker Bob, Bleecker Bob, yep,
Rock and Roll, yep, and all those great stores.
Yep.
And you could spend the afternoon, have a few beers, get something to eat, and take the train home, and always come home with some cool stuff. A lot of those record trips, I would pick up like the German releases of Killers or just some good promo stuff. And I'm in one of the stores, and they've got this Peter Criss live. This is cool as a CD. I go, this is cool as hell. Peter never does a live CD. What the heck is this? Mm-hmm. So I buy it. I'm kind of excited. Get home, put it in the player. It's my tape. It's my tape. And I still don't have it. I've lost it or I've lent it out. I still don't have a copy of it. I reached out to a buddy of mine, and you reached out to me. I go, you got to get me a copy because if anybody has the tape, it's him.
Okay. So you don't own.
I still don't have. I still don't have.
So funny.
I have it, but it's in the tape graveyard somewhere,
Right. Well, what I find interesting as you're reading off the set list, right? Because I have had that copy of that tape for 20 years now.
Still have it?
I still have a copy of it. I probably have about 5,000 or 6,000 cassettes or CDs of concerts. Because
Is it listenable? Because if it's that show, it's got to be a copy of a copy.
I'm sure it is. I'll go back. I'll dig it out and I'll see how listenable or how generated it was. I'll be honest. I don't remember. But off the top of my head, I don't remember Beth being on there, right? Because that was one of the things I remember always think is you mentioned Tossin and Turnin, and in my mind that was the only Kiss song or Kiss-related song he did in that show. So you're saying he actually performed Beth that night also?
Do Beth. We may have run out of tape.
Was it acoustic or?
One of the photographs, it's Stan on an acoustic guitar. Okay. One of my shots is Stan on an acoustic guitar. And I'll post them on my Facebook page if anybody wants to. Wants to see the shots, or if you have a page, I'll dump them over there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But they did do Beth. We might have run out of juice on the batteries, or run out. We were micro cassettes. We may not have gotten the whole show. Mm-hmm. The other part is there is when they did the second night, they apparently professionally recorded it. That's early on. Somebody reached out to me, and I had asked her if she'd like a copy of my cassette because she was asking me a bunch of questions about it. And she goes, "Oh no, I've got a better recording. I've got it off the soundboard." But that was from the second night. Now I've heard there was a second night. I've seen the set list I just read is from the second night. Mm-hmm. I've never seen the tape. I've never heard the tape. I know on a lot of the sites where they list where there's audio, I've never seen it, and so I've never come across it. But it's out there somewhere.
I've read that also. I think even Peter Criss has mentioned once or twice in the past that one of the shows was professionally recorded. I'm assuming it's the same one you're talking about. To my knowledge, I've never crossed paths with it, and I've never heard anybody else say that they had it.
which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
As hardcore collectors as the Kiss fans are, you think that it would pop up somewhere.
And I do know a couple of guys who are, I mean, extremely hardcore to have stuff that Kiss doesn't have. So I'm gonna have to ask them if they've ever heard about this or if they've got a copy of it. So that's very interesting. So to me, it sounds like it was like a restaurant atmosphere where
Definitely
they
a
had
restaurant.
to move tables. I find this fascinating because I've seen the pictures and I always like it looked like it was in somebody's basement, right? So
yeah.
right. And to me, even the performance, it was very cool in the sense that it just felt like it was four guys hanging out jamming. And it's like
friends hanging out.
Exactly. Like,
what do you want to do? Hey, let's do this. Let's do
exactly.
that.
Like even when they were doing tossing and turning, if my memory serves me right, and again, I'm trying to do this off the top of my memory, it didn't even sound fully rehearsed. At least the recording I heard, it was more like Peter was like, "Hey, let's do this. It's an old song from the '50s, just like every other song we're doing tonight," and they kind of on the fly started to play it.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what it was like. It was not. It is what it is. It was a simple night of four friends getting together to play. Peter hung out, took photographs with everybody. I took about 2 rolls of film, a bunch of other shots with friends and stuff like that. But he couldn't have been nicer. And over the years, meeting Peter a few more times with Ed, I've done some nice 8x10s. And I was taking them in. I wanted to get. There's a shot of me, Stan, and Peter. And I was always a big fan of what I used to call doing the Simmons, and I'd go like that. There's a shot of me doing that, and I'm trying to teach Peter. He has no clue what I'm talking about. I'm trying to get him to do it. And there's one shot where he's kind of making fun of it and stuff, but that's what I wanted to get signed. Gigi sees the shots. Goes, no, Peter needs these. I've never gotten it signed. Every time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I still don't have one signed by him from those nights. But he's got a set. Yeah, I give him a full set of all the photos.
Did he remember the show when you showed him the pictures? Did he remember it? Did he say anything?
My time to talk with him has always been short because when you're in a room with him and there's 10 or 20 other people, I'm going to take a back seat. It just the one time Ed had him up at when the book came out. Ed had him up at 104.3 was the station he was at, I think. Yep. And I went in, and I don't reach out to Ed too much to sit in on interviews or to meet people, but Peter was one of them, and he couldn't have been cooler. I got a great shot with him. I took my nephew with me. We got great. Peter couldn't have been nicer. We talked a little bit about that show, and I honestly I don't remember what he had to offer about it. It was just kind of fun to be in the same room and to hang out and be a fly in the wall and watch Ed do the interview and all that.
Absolutely. Now you still speak to Ed?
Oh yeah.
You said he was you were his best man, or he was your best man?
He was my best man. We're still good friends. He travels so much. We don't see each other that often. But I'm on a daily thread with him and all the guys from the record store where it's ball busting all day. And so it's still good. And Ed has we went to the Peter Criss the last show.
The one in the city.
Yeah, what's the name of that room? That's a great room.
I was at the show, so I'll remember it in a moment.
Geez.
Old age is
cutting room.
Cutting room. Yes.
Cutting room.
That's a great
venue. Great venue. I've seen a bunch of shows there that I like going to. And we got to say hi to people. I didn't get to spend any time with them. They had a private dinner party upstairs. Yep. Ed hung out a little bit. That was a good show to go to. Just the band with the horn section, and of course Peter's voice, and the band was great. That was a fun night.
I actually did an episode with a couple of friends of mine, and we did our top 10 concerts ever. And I've been to 300 some odd concerts over the years. I put that in my top 10.
Don't you dare tell me that 299 of them were Kiss.
73. 73 of them were Kiss. But I actually put that Peter Criss show from 2017, I think it was, or 18, whatever it was. I put it in my top 10. It was such a magical night to me. Like you said, his voice, the band, and I'm not big.
That room was nothing but love for him.
The energy in that room. If you weren't in that room, you'll never understand what it was like. Yep. And I'm not big on the brass instruments and all of that type of stuff. And when I heard he was going to have a horn section and do some Kiss songs, I was like, and then he did Strutter, And I still say to this day, that might be my favorite version of Strutter I've heard live. The instruments, the horns, his playing it was perfect. It was really, to me, it was perfect. Yeah.
I'll have to go back and listen to that. I know someone's pieced together all the videos.
Me.
Was that you?
That was me. Yeah.
One of mine made it into it. I was upstairs in the balcony shooting down.
Oh, cool.
And it's great. It's great. Everybody bitches about people shooting video at the concerts, but you know what? You think back. I'm glad someone did it. I'm glad we've got a copy of it.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'll be first to admit, I've done some songs at every concert I've gone through for years. My motto is, if I can't hold the phone over here on my chest, and I don't, because I'm not watching a show like
right.
this.
You don't want to. You don't want to.
I don't want to distract people, and I don't want to look that way. If I can't hold it here on my chest area, then I'm not recording anything. But
one of the good ones.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So you said at the Peter Criss show you spoke with him beforehand, and I always find this interesting, this timeline, right? So his shows were March of '84. At that same time, roughly.
I think it was St. Patrick. It was the 17th.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you knew the date of the show, right? So
it was the 17th.
So Kiss had actually just done Radio City March 9th and 10th of '84. And the reason I bring this up is because, again, I was at one of those Radio City shows. Unbeknownst to me at the time, Peter Criss was at one of the shows, and there's pictures of him backstage.
With Eric, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Did he make any mention when you were with him? It was just the following week that you were with him.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Well, it was 35 years ago that I'm asking you to remember.
We've told the same stories about that. I had a friend, my friend Bob Garcia, big Kiss fan, and Bob was with me we all worked at the record store. It was me, Ed, Bob, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, but my wife. And I talked to them. I go, you guys remember anything special? Just refresh my memory on if I'm missing something. And my wife was like, no, it all came together so quick. It was a fun night. And Bob has the same stories I do. So I don't know if that's because we both remember the same thing or because we've both been listening to each other's crap all the years. Those are the stories that we know. You mentioned Radio City Music Hall. We went to the Sam Goody's record signing. Did you go to that? That was a day or two.
I missed that, unfortunately.
Got to meet all the guys.
Nice.
That was Vinny at that time. Vinny and Eric at that time.
Yep.
And so Lick It Up was without makeup. The record before Lick It Up would have been Creatures, I believe, right?
Yep.
We worked at the record store, so we had some dopey connections. Bryan Adams, Cuts Like a Knife, had just come out, and he was playing at the Bottom Line in New York City, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was opening. Now, this is before there was already a buzz on Stevie, but the record hadn't come out. The first record hadn't come out yet. So one of the record guys got us with A&M, got us tickets to go see Bryan Adams, and we were going to see Bryan Adams. We hadn't really heard about Stevie Ray Vaughan yet, and we were excited about the connection of Kiss to Bryan Adams because it was Eric Carr wrote a song.
Eric Carr wrote "Don't Leave Me Lonely" on Cuts Like a Knife, and Bryan Adams has writing credit on War Machine, Rock and Roll Hell, and a song on Killers. I think Down on Your Knees, if I remember right.
Speaking of Killers, it is easily one of my favorite Kiss records. Those four songs are
very good songs. Yeah.
I as much as great as Creatures is, I wish there was more stuff like Creatures, or more stuff like Killers. That record, those four songs, are just great.
Yeah, No Way to Run is incredible to me.
I use it in my running. That's usually when I'm doing a 5 or 10K. That's usually how it starts.
Nice.
We get tickets. We go. The record company set us up. We had great seats, and just before maybe 5-10 minutes before the show starts, these four guys walk in and they sit right behind us, and it's Gene, Paul, Eric, and Vinny.
Wow.
And we hadn't seen Vinny yet, but we knew he was in the band. So I don't remember the time frame. Well, I saw the Creatures in Makeup tour. That was the one with the tank. We went up they didn't play New York.
They didn't play New York City, no.
We went up to Worcester, Mass.
Yep.
Went up there. A bunch of us went up there. And I don't know if that's before the Bryan Adams concert or not, but I
That
stopped by
probably,
to take.
I think the Creatures show that you're talking about was like January, maybe February of '83.
Okay,
So
when
probably
Cuts Like a Knife come out.
Cuts Like a Knife, I think, was more a few months. I'm not as good at my Bryan Adams timeline, sorry, but I think that Cuts Like a Knife was more like spring of '83, if I remember right.
Okay, all right.
I'll have to double
So
check that, but I think so.
we saw him without makeup. That was a big thing for
Right.
me. That was a big thing. And funny, get back to Ed, but Ed couldn't go with us because he just had his appendix or his gallbladder out,
Hmm.
and he was just so pissed that he couldn't go. And I remember getting there. We sit down. The guys from Kiss come in. I went over to the payphone. This is pre-cell phone. I go over the phone. I go, "Hey, you're not going to believe what they're fucking here. They're fucking here." And and I could hear him yelling at his mom for not letting him go in.
Oh,
And
that's
this is
great.
before Ed had any connection with those guys.
Right, of
And
course.
and again, I hate to tell Ed's story, but Ed's mother wrote a letter to Kiss management. I guess Bill would have been out. Bill would have been out of management. He maybe about that time.
Yeah, right around that time. Yeah.
Gone. Wrote a letter that her son was a huge Kiss fan. Ed's going to hate me for telling this story. being a huge Kiss fan,
Uh-huh.
and management wrote back and sent him a backstage pass
Wow.
to go to. I don't remember if it was the Meadowlands or the Garden, whatever
Okay.
whatever the next show was, whatever
Oh,
the next
wow.
time in the area, and but it was cool. We couldn't get a photograph, of course, but
Right.
I got a signature somewhere, buried somewhere.
That is cool.
The guys, and Vinny couldn't have been nicer. He was, all those guys were nice. That was my second time of meeting Simmons. There was you're from New York, but I don't know if
Yep.
they picked up by you, a band called Trigger,
Okay.
which in the late 70s, they were on Casablanca Records.
Mhm.
And if you don't have that record, when we're done with this, you
Sure,
go
yeah.
on. I don't
I'll
know if
check
it's on
that out.
Spotify. Go get it. It is in the vein of Stars, of would be
Angel.
no. It's guitars and drums. If you have you heard of the band Wicked?
Yep. Okay. Mhm.
Wicked is fantastic.
Okay, yeah.
But it's just great rock and roll.
Okay.
Aerosmith in there.
Okay.
All four guys sang,
Nice.
and I remember being down at the shore, probably New Jersey Shore, 1977. I wasn't drinking age yet.
Mhm.
18 would have been 78 would have been drinking for me.
Sure.
But I remember standing outside of the Chatterbox and hearing this band playing. What the hell is that? And on the bulletin board, they had the Casablanca recording artist Trigger. And I remember going out that weekend and buying that record. And on the back, it says, "Special thanks to Gene Simmons." Now, what's the Kiss connection on this? Turns out, I don't know if Simmons discovered them or was just I forget that story, if he was just a really big supporter of them. And I ended up becoming friends with those guys at that time frame. They used to they were a great bar band in our area, along the likes of White Tiger,
Mhm.
Phantom's Opera, and maybe not Phantom's Opera, but White Tiger. And Trigger's just a great band. And two of the guys have passed, which is unfortunate. But the drummer and the guitar player are still going. They get together every once in a while, and it's definitely a band worth checking out.
Yeah. No, you know what? That one somehow has escaped me through all these years, so I'll have to check that out myself.
With the Kiss connection, yeah, it's worth it. But they were playing Trigger was playing at a club called Great Gildersleeves in New York, and they knew I was a huge Kiss fan. And one of the guys had called me and said, "Hey, Eric, you might want to come into the city tonight. Simmons is going to be here. You'd probably get a kick out of meeting him." And so that's got to be 78 or so. So I had met Simmons without makeup. He signed a napkin for me, and
wow. Very cool.
it was just really, really cool.
That's very cool. So let me ask you. So you took the picture? You personally took the pictures from the Peter Criss show in '84?
Those are except for the ones that have me in it. My wife took those.
Okay. So this is the one that. So I think I heard you say you were at one of the two shows, but I've noticed at least some of the pictures I found online, and this is detailed, so you may not even remember, but on a lot of the pictures, Peter Criss is wearing like a white T-shirt with like cut sleeves, but then other ones he's wearing a blue shirt, right? So I'm like, are these from the two different shows?
I have to see it. I think my shots are our two shirts. He played in a sleeveless shirt, but he's in but he's in a jacket. I thought he was in a jacket. I have to go and look at those photos again.
Okay.
Sometimes you post stuff. I'm not paying attention.
Of course.
I've seen them 1,000 times, but now I don't even remember.
Well, you'll have to let me know when you look through them if any of the pictures are not yours, and I'll send you the ones I have because I'm wondering. It looks like the same place, so I just assumed they were all your pictures. But then I noticed a different shirt. I'm like, well, would Peter Criss change a shirt in the middle of a little show like this? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
He was probably in a different shirt at dinner.
Oh, okay. That could
be. And they change. But then after that Friday, that show was on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Following Friday, I think Ed's radio show at DHA was on Friday night. I think that was Friday night. Ed had Peter come into the radio station.
Okay.
So of course I'm going up. I'm not missing this. So sure. My wife, me, gotta look at that photograph. But Peter's in it. Peter's wife, Deborah, at the time. Mm-hmm. His daughter's name is
Jenny.
She's in it. She's just she's 3-4 years old.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And we went up to WDHA and got a few shots. There's a friend of ours, Tony, who was a jock at the station too. He's in those shots. He's wearing something different there, of course,
right,
but he's wearing a jacket. I've seen him. He's wearing the same jacket that he's in with that shot of Eric.
Yes,
backstage at Radio City Music Hall.
Mm-hmm.
But those are my shots too.
Okay.
Now they're off my camera. I may not have took them, but
they're off your camera. Right. So, but it makes sense why we see him in different clothes because you did meet him over different days in a couple-week period.
Yes. Yep. And I asked Ed. I told him I was doing this, and I asked him if he had a copy of the interview.
I was just going to ask
because I heard it live at the studio, but I haven't heard it since. I would get a kick out of hearing that. And I don't remember him saying there was a second show, because if there was a second show, we all would have went.
Right.
I don't know how we missed that.
Right. That's interesting. Especially Ed had him on the radio show.
Yeah, the night before.
Talk about it. Right. Right. So you don't have a copy of that radio show, and it sounds like Ed doesn't either?
Ed says he has it.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Over his course of his career, he's got stuff on cassette. He's got stuff on DAT. He's got stuff on CD.
Nice.
He needs to hire an archivist to because I joke with him. I go, you should do like Howard Stern does. You should do a second podcast, a second radio show, which is just the classic interviews. And how cool would it be to hear stuff from Priest or Iron Maiden?
Oh, without a doubt.
Or from back in the 80s, whenever the new record was out, hearing them talk about it. Mm-hmm. He's got a ton of stuff, and it's overwhelming, I think.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that Peter Criss interview. Off the top of my head, I don't remember ever hearing that from '84 on his show. So.
Maybe this your podcast, maybe how many people it reaches. Somebody knows more, or somebody has something, or somebody knows somebody else who.
Right. That's possible, or maybe it'll light a fire under Ed to say, "Hey, I'll put this out there for the fans."
I got more stuff to do. I can't worry about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I know you said you enjoyed the show, and we touched on before that you enjoyed the '78 solo album. Do you remember the other 100 so people who were there at the show? How they reacted? Did people leave there disappointed?
A unique night. It was a unique night because everybody knew it was Peter. And word did get out. So if we started there with 20 people or 25 people, that room did get packed over the course of people going to the phone, calling, "Hey, you're not going to believe who's here. Mm-hmm. You're not going to believe what's going on. You got to get down here." Mm-hmm. But it was there was a buzz in the room. It was just how those nights are. Sometimes you're lucky enough to see a show that, from a fan's perspective, it is just so cool to be there to catch this. And was it his best playing? I don't know that. Was it his best thing? I don't know that. Was it a unique night?
But that doesn't matter. Right. Exactly. Exactly. So to me, it almost sounds a little bit like you were saying, that there was a buzz in the room when he did his final show in New York a couple of years ago. You said before, I said before, there was a buzz in the room. Was it a similar type of vibe, I guess I'll say?
No, because I think the New York show was, we knew it was the end.
Right.
We knew it was the end. And I think that puts
a little extra on it.
A little extra. Another thing about that Cherry Croft show, I may have said this earlier, that was not I didn't see it as a precursor to Criss and Stan's. That band kept changing names. Mm-hmm. it was four friends getting together. And I think someone's got a list of all Peter's show. One of the websites has a list, and there's a big break from the last Kiss show to that Cherry Croft show.
Absolutely.
And then there's another break until whatever the band was called,
Probably
whatever
Balls
they called
of Fire or something like
Balls
that.
of Fire or whatever, yeah. And I don't even know if it was the same guys.
No, I think that was a whole different band. He joined a different band out in California and did just a handful of shows with them in like '86, if I remember right.
It's funny, no photos of that seem to pop up. At least I haven't seen.
Nope. You know what? I have a concert flyer poster from one of those shows, but I've never, off the top of my head, I think I've seen one photo in like one of the fanzines from the late '80s or something like that, and that's it. So if anybody has photos from that show, definitely
send them in.
share.
Right?
Send them in, absolutely. Sorry. So then you're saying the people who were in the room, they didn't care that it wasn't, because sometimes, I'll be honest, I listen to the.
There's another show. There'll be another show tomorrow. You know, it's not the end.
Right. So, but now all these years later, you could look back and you could say, "Damn, I was part of something that very few people knew about, and let alone were a part of." And to me, that's so cool.
Well, you know, it's funny. I've posted those photos a few times. And over the years, you know, whenever I had the photos, whenever I got a better scanner, I'd scan them and I'd put them up. There used to be a great stars page, and there's a thread over there about Peter Criss, and I dumped the photos over there. Someone from Kiss FAQ found it, so I did a proper scan. I got them on their site at a higher level resolution. Got them on their sites, and it seems about every 4 or 5 years, with all this time off lately, I'm cleaning out the garage. I come across my stuff. What the hell? I'll post these again just for the hell of it. And there's a Peter Criss Facebook page where I put them on. And my editor, like, everybody's seen these already. It's just, you know, some shots you've seen 100 times, and it just amazes me that hardcore Kiss fans still have not seen these.
Exactly.
Have seen these photos. I just figured everybody's seen these. That's why I don't put them up that often.
Yeah.
And it took on a life of its own. That website, you know, it must have been 300 hits.
Yeah.
And you think about all your personal stuff you put up. Your friends like it. You're on vacation. You saw the Eiffel Tower, whatever.
Right.
All right. You got, you know, a lot of hits on my stuff is like maybe 100, and all of a sudden this thing jumps up to 300, and you reached out and like, what the hell's going on? I figured everybody had seen them already.
Well, it's funny because I had seen, I'm going to say 3/4 of the pictures that you had posted. There was a few mixed in. I'm like, oh, I hadn't seen that one before. I haven't seen that one before. Especially some of the ones I'll say that with you and Peter, whatever, those somehow people usually don't post those.
I didn't want to see me. Right? I had hair of that.
But me too. But you know, even some of the live shots, I hadn't seen some of those. So I thought it was really cool when I saw them. And I did, like you said, I reached out to you and I said, hey, do you mind if I share this on my page? Because I run a Facebook page as well. And same thing, couple hundred people, oh, the great show, liking it, and people commenting, oh my God, I've never seen these before. And then that's when I was like, I got to talk with you, because I thought that Kiss fans knew this. I thought this was kind of like old news, and I figured I was sharing, 25 photos, 20 of which most people saw, but there was so many people saying, oh my God, I've never seen these photos before. I didn't know Peter played any shows in 1984. And I'm like, you know what? I've known this, but I've never heard the story. I've never known anybody who went there. I'm really interested to hear Eric's story here and what this show was like. And, like I said, I've looked at the pictures for years, and I'm like, is this somebody's basement? Was this actually even a concert? Are we sure this isn't like pictures from Peter's basement, just hanging out with friends, jamming?
There's a wallpaper in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like a Midwest supper club.
Yeah, there's a picture frame. There's a picture frame behind him in one of the pictures. Yep. I was just like, this looks like he's hanging out in his basement, which is cool also, if that's what it is. I said, but
that's what happened, yeah.
But right. But I'm like, no, this is actually pictures from that audio tape that I've heard for years. And I was like, I got to talk with you. I got to hear the story. I got to find out how you knew about this. And to me, I think Kiss fans are going to be very interested to hear your story, because this is a piece of history, as people like to say, that has largely been not spoken about.
There, it comes up with, I think it's old news, because my group of friends, were either with me or they've heard the story enough. It doesn't matter.
Right,
it's not like no one, you don't care. And at the thing in Atlanta, the Vinnie Vincent thing in Atlanta, Ed called me and says, hey, I'm doing this interview with Vinnie. You want to go down? And I said, yeah, Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like looking at all the merchandise. I think the coolest thing I saw down at that show where people didn't go, my background is the circus. I've been in family entertainment and the
Nice.
circus industry. My dad owned a circus
Okay.
for the past 35 years. I'm no
Very
longer
cool.
in it. I work for a theater now, but so I liked anything theatrical. The Kiss with the fire, the bombs,
Mm-hmm.
the confetti. Everybody talks about when did Simmons. I don't mean that I'm going sideways here, but
No.
everybody talks about when did Simmons first breathe fire? When did he first do blood? When did the confetti start?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen an answer to that. No one brings that up. And the old confetti, like on the Destroyer stage or on the Rock and Roll Over Live 2 stage,
Mm-hmm.
where it was the small confetti and they had like the drums that
Mm-hmm.
would
Mm-hmm.
how they used to make it snow like on the movies.
Yep.
And the confetti now is fun and all that stuff, but the confetti back then was unique. It was
Yes.
to me it was special. It was a different effect.
Totally.
I don't know why I was telling you that. But the guy who does all the replica costumes,
Mm-hmm.
to see those costumes up close, even though I forget his name, in his company, who,
Yeah, I know who you're
you've seen
talking
it.
about. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know who
yeah.
you're talking about. The name. So I'm great with dates and horrible with names.
Seeing those boots, that Destroyer costume, those boots, not a newer version of that, the Destroyer boots, those
Right.
are just always fascinated by that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the coolest thing at that convention to me, is to see that
Yeah.
stuff up close. But and Vinny, I was telling you about Vinny. Went down to see Vinny. Ed did the interview with Vinny. Vinny couldn't have been nicer.
So you were with Eddie when he did that radio interview.
Yeah, all those photographs, those first photographs
The yours?
are mine.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so cool.
And I was going to tell you a story about the Palladium in New York.
Yes, yeah, I was going to go back to that. I'm glad you did.
Ron Akiyama, who we worked in the store with, we're all good friends. Ed does his first. We went to the Palladium. We all went to the Palladium together.
Nice.
Ed was a customer. We weren't friends yet. And the Palladium would have been what, 81?
July 25th, 1980.
No, had to be August. Wasn't it August?
No, the end of July. I'm almost positive July 25th. Right, you're talking Eric Carr's first show,
Eric's
right?
car, yeah.
I think it's July 25th, if I got it right off the top of my head.
I have
1980.
amazing photographs from that show. Amazing.
Dude, you need to share them. Even if I won't send them to anybody, send them to me.
I posted some of them.
Did you?
There's one of Ace doing this for
Okay.
2010.
Uh-huh.
Some great shots of him and Simmons. I took about 2 rolls. Sitting right next to me is
Mhm.
Ron Akiyama, who is a co-worker.
Right.
We had a ticket master in one of our branches. So,
Mhm.
boom, you hear all the stories about people working Ticketmaster, get all the
Uh-huh.
great seats. Guess what? It's true.
That's true, right? Mhm.
What's coming on? Ron punched out 4 tickets or whatever, and Ed, of course, he wasn't with us yet, but we sat 4th row, and Ron's a professional photographer. Ron just Ron's got amazing stuff. Another friend of mine, Mark, amazing stuff. My stuff, I'm taking for me. I'm a fan.
Sure.
I'm not. I have a casual interest in photography, but I'm just doing it for
fun. For your
whatever
own
my
memories.
memories, whatever I want.
Right.
We get back, and Ron used to sell the record store we worked for had, I don't know, at that time probably had 6 stores, and Ron had photo books in all the stores. And anybody who's listening to you from the New Jersey area, Ron used to sell at the 1 and 9 flea market too. He had a booth on there. He was selling. So a lot of people my age or a little bit younger have got these great photographs of their favorite bands. They're Ron shot. If you're from the New York, New Jersey area, you have Ron shots. You may
Did he
not
ever
know.
sell? Did he ever sell like on the boardwalk, Seaside, Wildwood?
Not there, no.
No,
He
okay.
was he shot a ton of Megaforce stuff. You know, Ed went over to Megaforce, of course.
Yep, of course.
What Ron did, I think Ron will kill me for not knowing this, but I think Raven,
Okay.
all those bands from the Megaforce
Nice.
catalog. I don't know if he did Metallica. He was Joan Jett's personal photographer for I don't know how many years. He's got
Okay.
amazing shots of Joan.
That's awesome.
Great Springsteen stuff. Because Ron always says you and I can take great shots, but we're all taking the same shots. We're shooting from the front of the stage.
Mhm.
The things that make those unique shots are access and angle.
Right.
and he's shooting from the back out. So you get the crowd in it. You just get
Which
a better.
I love those kind of photos.
So
It
do
gives
I.
you a feeling
I
of
love
being
it.
there. I don't need to see
Yes.
Gene Simmons right up in his face. All right. I
We've
love the
seen it a
feeling of
thousand
being at the
times.
show. Exactly. I love the feeling of being at the show, so to speak.
Ron's got amazing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's got all the books in the stores. So and he's got everybody again from ABBA to Zappa. Anybody wants. He's got great Zeppelin stuff. He's got Aerosmith. He's got early Kiss. He shot Kiss at the Capitol Theater. He's got. He tells me the story that Simmons said, "You're okay sitting on the stage, but watch out for that flash pod."
Oh wow! Okay.
Ron's someone to talk to, and I keep busting his chops.
Yeah.
That he needs to reach out. Ron's a true artist. He's not. His work will speak for itself.
Has he ever think of doing a book or something like that with all his photos?
He's working on it. He's
Awesome.
working on it.
Awesome.
He gets kicked in the butt a lot from me because I just know how unique his stuff is and how special it is.
That sounds awesome.
And take your favorite band, and he's got something unique on them. He complains that he doesn't have like classic Who stuff because he doesn't have Keith Moon. He's got Kenny.
Right.
He doesn't have the Beatles. He's got McCartney. He's got Ringo, but he doesn't have the Beatles. He's got he always feels like, Ron, you're wrong, because to me Kenny Jones was the drummer in the Who for me.
Right.
When I discovered the Who, and not that I didn't know their music, but Who Are You was my first Who record.
Okay.
So no, I'm sorry, that was still Keith Moon.
Moon.
Still, but you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, right? When you started going to concerts, probably that's right.
That's what your band is.
Right, of course.
And anyways, he gets back and we're talking. He goes, Eric, I did not get a fire shot of Simmons from the Palladium. And you get lucky. It's not. We're sitting fourth row. Boom, boom. I click. I got two shots. I got one huge flame takes up the entire frame of the photo with Simmons's head just down in the corner, and got the second after that where it's petered out.
Right.
And he goes, "Can I use your photo to sell in the store?" I go, "Yeah, I don't care. Here's a negative." Give it to him. He produces it, puts it in the book, and he sold those 8x10s for maybe $10 or so, or the 5x7s for $3 or $5, whatever it was, and so that's got to be Palladium was what, 81?
July of 80.
All right, and Ed's first book comes out in. It's got to be 10 years on that
I'm
first
thinking
book.
It's about 10 years ago. Yeah.
It's got to be about 10 years. Ed and I
have the first one. It feels like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Ed and I are in Chicago. I was living in Wisconsin at the time. He flew in. UFO was playing, so let's go see UFO in Chicago. That's Strangers in the Night was recorded there.
Okay.
It's a hotbed for UFO fans. It'd be fun to see it. So we go. We're in the hotel room before the show, and today I just got the blue line. I just got the test print of the book, and we're in the hotel room. I'm flipping through it. I go, Ed, you got to be so proud. Your first book. That's really cool. What a true friend says, Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, Ron's photos have never looked better. This is fantastic. Flip through it. I'm not reading it. I'm just kind of flipping through it. I get to the last page. There's a section on Kiss, and Ron's got a great photograph of Ace Frehley. He's taken in Philadelphia. He's wearing a ball cap. I don't know if you've ever seen that photograph. It's a great shot.
Doesn't ring a bell off the top of my head, but I'll have to look for it. Yeah. I
get to the end of the book. The last page is Gene Simmons blowing fire. It's my shot.
Picture.
That's shot.
So cool.
And I go, Ed. Now, Ed doesn't know this. I go, Ed, where'd you get that shot? And he goes, I got it from, that's Ron's. I go, that's not Ron's. He goes, what do you mean it's not Ron's? It's not Ron's photo. He goes, how do you know that? Well, I took it. That's my shot. And Ron's got a photo credit on every one of these damn photos, and you use my shot, and I don't get a photo credit?
Oh, that's hilarious.
He goes, what are you talking about? And I tell him when back in the store days, Ron didn't get the fire shot, and he had asked to borrow mine. I gave him the negative. So get the phone out. I'm calling Ron right now. What the hell's going on? Call up. I go, what have I ever done to you? And he hangs up. Yeah, I call him back. I go, what is wrong with you? Why would you do something like this? I'm busting his balls. I'm not.
Of course.
He hangs up on me again. Call him back. I go, Ron, what is going on? He goes, who is this? I go, it's McConnell. What are you doing? He goes, I was out doing something. Sorry, I thought it was the wrong number. And I go, why are you using my photo? He goes, what are you talking about? I go, the shot of Simmons breathing fire in Ed's book. Why did you pass that off as your photo? And Ron goes, that's my photo. And all of a sudden, there's dead silence. He goes, oh my God, that is your shot, isn't it? You know what shot I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. No, if you have it, go grab it. That's very funny. Oh, look at that. You got it hanging on the wall.
Well, it's my only, can you see
claim
that?
To fame. Hold it up a little bit, a little higher. Nice, yes, very nice.
That's in the back of Ed's
book, yeah.
So
cool.
And Ed's like, Eric, I am so sorry. I didn't know it. None of us knew that. I'm sorry. I thought it was Ron's. He's putting the blame on Ron.
Of course. And how would he know, right?
Right. And so he goes, I'll get you a photo credit. No, I do not want a photo credit.
Okay.
I want to be able to bitch about this for the next rest of my life.
That's far better than the credit, right?
Yeah.
Amongst friends, I totally get that.
If you look, and I don't care if one of my friends could make some money off a photo, or if it tells a story in Ed's book, I could care less. Mm-hmm. I could care less. I took it for me. I didn't take it for wherever else. But Ed, in the second book, if you look in the back of the second book, there's in the credits, he did a little paragraph about the story I just told you. So,
oh, really? I have to check that out.
And we do the Monsters. Ed has me help him out on the Monsters of Rock cruise. Have you ever done that?
No, I've done the Kiss cruise the last 8 years. So one of these years, I'm skipping that and doing Monsters instead.
Monsters of Rock is fantastic. Mm-hmm. It is just for Faster Pussycat alone. It's worth. And Ed was doing, Ed's the host on that, and he's doing a question and answers a few years ago. And there was a guy standing next to me, and he had the book. And I said, ask this question to Ed. Ask him, soften it up, and then hit him with it. And he goes, all right, we're out drinking, so it's okay. Right. And the guy asks, he goes, hey, Ed, a lot of the photos in your book are just fantastic, but what's going on with that photo on the last page? And Ed's like, is that bastard in this room? Where is he?
That's great.
So we have fun. It's just fun ball busting. Is all it is.
That's awesome. And I find it amazing because I saw these Peter Criss photos, not knowing anything about who took them, and now to hear that you're the one that took them. You're also the one that took the first pictures of Vinnie Vincent in Atlanta, right? And you were there.
Yeah, I mean, just by
of course,
my best is that, and it's just by coincidence. Yeah. And Ed needed a shot. He wanted to make sure he has something for the website. Well, heck, I'm gonna.
Of course.
Got access.
Right. Of course.
Take the shot.
Of course, but I find that so cool, how people like yourself, who your name might not be the most known name in Kiss fandom, yet there's so many historic things that you were a part of that now people will be like, oh, damn, that was Eric. Oh, damn, that was Eric also. That photo you just showed of Gene Simmons, it's hanging on your wall behind you, right? So Kiss fans have seen that. I didn't realize that was you also. So it's kind of cool how that's all interconnected there through decades. Not like all these pictures were taken a month apart from each other. These are decades apart.
Yeah, and it really is because of Eddie. He's a good friend, and it's I'm lucky. We're all lucky. We all have access in our lives to different things. If your buddy owns a restaurant, you're eating or drinking for free.
Exactly.
Your buddy owns a hotel, you're going to get great rates on the room.
That's just the way life is.
Yeah. And I'm lucky enough. My good friend is in the music industry, and I get to tag along on some cool stuff. I was a huge Angel fan back in the day, and Ed had, when Punky was first getting back into it on the solo record. I think it was the solo record. Yeah, it must have been the solo record. I don't remember now, but it was a few years ago, 3-4 years ago. And Ed was going to do one of the first interviews with Punky Metal. So 15-year-old Eric, there is nothing bigger. There's nothing bigger except maybe for Ace would have been. And here I am, 57 years old, and I call Ed up. I go, Ed, can I come in and sit in on the interview? I'll just sit in the corner. I won't bother anybody. And he goes, yeah, of course, no problem. Let me just check with the guys and see it's okay. And he goes, yeah. So again, Ron and I go into the studio. Punky and Felix, who was the bass player for Angel, came in, and I tell you, I don't get starstruck too often, and Punky was just. He couldn't have been nicer to me. He answered every stupid question I had about the magic tricks, the logo, everything. They couldn't have been nicer to me, and they put up with all that crap. And there's a photo of me with Punky and Felix, and I've never looked more uncomfortable standing there because I'm 57 years old, and it's like I'm a 15-year-old.
You're like a 15-year-old kid again.
Yeah, and Punky goes, "Hey, there was a restaurant downstairs from the radio station. He goes, we're going to go have dinner. You want to join us?" I got an hour and a half drive home. I got to work the next day, and I was so worried. I've got nothing to talk about. I was just tongue-tied, and I blew it off. I said, "No, I got to get. It's the stupidest thing I've ever done." But since then, met Punky a whole bunch more times, and because of Ed, he's been super nice. And Danny, who's in the band, also. And Danny's a friend who we've known before with his other band. And but Punky is just they're just that's another great band. And if you haven't heard that new record, it is.
I have to check that out.
It is. If you're an Angel fan, it's just fantastic. They've done a great job.
Nice, excellent. I'll definitely check that out. So, is there anything else related to the Peter Criss show?
I got to look at my notes. What do I have?
Anything else that we're forgetting to talk about here?
Went to the Palladium, Peter Criss. I think that's it. That's all I had on my list.
Awesome. Well, Eric, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. I think, Kiss fans, when they hear some of these stories, they hear more details about the Peter Criss show, some of the details you're saying about seeing Kiss without makeup in like 82, 83, early 83 time period. It's just really cool stories. Cool to hear about you being there with your friend there, Eddie Trunk, taking pictures at the Vinnie Vincent thing in Atlanta. It's just all really cool stories. I want to thank you for sharing them all with us. I think Kiss fans are going to
happy to do it. Thanks for reaching out. I think it was. I'm just a casual Kiss fan like everybody else, and it's fun. We all have got stories to tell. Our first shows, our last shows, our most fun shows, and that's good. I think I hope you have good luck with this show. I hope I didn't bore people too much. But,
I don't think you will. I think people are going to definitely be interested. So excellent. All right. Well, I want to just say thanks. I think this is great. Alrighty, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Eric McConnell. I found it really interesting to hear some of those facts about the Peter Criss 1984 concert that I certainly never knew before talking to Eric. I hope you guys learned a thing or two. And Eric, I just want to thank you for joining me on my show. It was a great conversation. Now, as I promised, I'll share a couple of photos from that event that Eric has shared with me. This photo that you're looking at here is a more recent photo of the restaurant where the concert took place. Eric told me it was in much better shape back in 1984 when Peter Criss performed here, but you'll get a really good idea for just how small this place really was. I'm sure it was quite cool, just like Eric said, to see Peter Criss in such a small, intimate setting. The next few photos that you'll see were all taken by Eric at the event, and yes, that is Eddie Trunk in one of the photos. Again, I hope you enjoyed this show. Hit that subscribe button below on my YouTube channel and head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. I've also posted more of the photos that Eric shared with me on my Facebook page, so you want to go check those out. That's it for this episode. Until next time, thanks for watching.